Hello, welcome to our CSS Profile walkthrough. Thank you for joining. Want to go ahead and get started by having your student go to their College Board account. This is the easiest way to log into the CSS Profile. All of your students have a College Board account that they have used for their SATs and also for their AP classes. So have your students go to collegeboard.org and go ahead and click sign in. And enter their email address as well as their password and click sign in. And then students will get to the main College Board dashboard. And what I recommend doing, what I find the easiest, is just scrolling down to the bottom and going over to the right-hand side and clicking on the CSS profile. And that will take you to the page where you will get started on, just like when you did the FAFSA, you are signing into the fall 2023, spring 2024 CSS profile. Do not select this lower one. That is for students who are currently in college or who are planning to start this spring. So you are selecting the 2023-2024 CSS profile, and you will go ahead and click on that to get started. And it's going to ask again for the student's password. And you will scroll down, read through this disclaimer. It's a very long disclaimer. Once you've read it, you will click I understand and click continue. And then you will see application status. It will either say start or continue application. And again, make sure that it says 2023, 2024. If it doesn't have your College Board financial aid ID here yet, that is okay. And we will be adding colleges and programs to this section. Remember that not all colleges will be asking you to complete the CSS profile, so not all colleges will be on here, but we will talk about that when we get to that section. So go ahead and click Continue Application, and we will get started. Now, before we get started, just as a reminder, please make sure you do have these items on hand. So please make sure that you have these financial aid documents or financial documents with you. Similar to FAFSA, you will want your tax returns and W-2 forms, particularly for the 2021 year. Other records of income, other records of untaxed income, current bank statements, records of savings, bonds, trusts. If you have own a home, you will want your mortgage information with you. And those are some of the documents that you will need. I also want to, as we get started here, talk through some critical mistakes that people sometimes make on the CSS profile. There are a lot of questions on here that are not required, and you are not obligated to answer those. You are only obligated to answer questions that say required. Every school on the CSS profile is going to follow up with each student and ask you to actually send copies of your W-2, to send copies of your tax return and additional documents. So they're going to see everything. So if a question is not required, you do not need to answer it. Number 2, it's really important that you don't overvalue really anything, but especially the home that you live in. We are going to talk through that when we get to that point, but you don't want to overvalue that. Another thing to remember is that 529 savings accounts are not student assets. 529 accounts owned by the parent are included in parent assets, not students. Do not overstate how much money you can pay for college each year. You want to be honest, but you do not want to overestimate. How you answer this question cannot help you, but it can hurt you. Again, do not overestimate future year income earnings. And I will talk more about that when we get there. And you can, number 6, you want to talk with your college counselor about how to write an appeal in the special circumstances section. Okay, so please don't submit anything without talking through that with your college counselor, because how you word that and how you enter that information is critical. And again, just do not miss any deadlines. So we will go ahead and jump back to the CSS profile and getting started. So we'll start section 1 of 1, and know that the sections will vary depending on your circumstances. So unlike FAFSA, there's not a set number for every question. It depends on your circumstances and uses skip logic. So we will go ahead and click Start Section and click Continue. And you will enter some basic information about the student, name, address, things like that. Again, this is the student's information, and save and continue. You'll put in your student's date of birth and your student's marital status, your student's citizenship status. Again, if you are not sure how to enter this, there are drop-down menus that can tell you how to answer this. Also, if you are not sure, I would please check in with your college counselor on this. And it will ask you, even if you say you are a United States citizen, what country do you live in? So you will just tell it the United States and save and continue. Again, we are in the student section. So this is asking if any of these questions are true for the student. Does the student have legal dependents? Most students will put no. Is the student a veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces? Is the student an emancipated minor? If you have questions around this, please ask your college counselor. But again, that would be a legal determination. Is the student homeless or at risk of becoming homeless? Again, if you have questions on that, please check in with your college counselor. And we'll save and continue. This next section is asking about the student's status. Has the student ever been in foster care or a ward of the state or a ward of the court? And if you have questions on this, again, please check with your college counselor. Most students will put no for this first one. And if the student has been in foster care, you will want to answer that. Most students, I believe, will put no. If you have questions around that, please check in with your college counselor and then click Save and Continue. You will enter your address, the student's address, the student's country again, the state, and the zip code. You will enter the student's social security number. This will make sure that it matches up with their other identifying forms, and you will click Save and Continue. And then most students, I don't think will know what this is yet, so you can leave this blank for now. This is your College Board Financial Aid ID, but go ahead and skip that for now. And again, just confirm all of your information is accurate. Check the box once you've confirmed that, and continue on. So this next section will ask basic information about the student's parents. Now, unlike FAFSA, this CSS profile is going to ask questions about both of the student's biological parents, as well as adoptive parents, step parents, legal guardians, and parental partners. So whereas FAFSA only asks for the custodial parents' information, this one you will have to provide information about non-custodial parents also. So we will click Continue. And so parental relationships, parent 1, this should be the parent that you used on FAFSA to complete FAFSA. So the parent that you indicated as your parent on FAFSA, that is who you should use for parent 1. So we will click on parent 1, tell us more. You will put in your parent's first and last name, their relationship, so whether that's your father, mother, legal guardian, and you will click Continue for parent 1. And parent 2, now if you don't know your second parent's name, you can put unknown, and you will likely have to fill out additional questions later. If you do, if let's say your parents are divorced, which is what we will be saying in this case, you will enter that information here. Okay, so once you have that basic, just the name of both of your parents entered, you will click Save and Continue. Now it's going to ask what is the marital status of those parents, and you will choose from one of these: separated, divorced, unmarried, not living together, unmarried, living together, married, or in a domestic partnership. Now, I do want to pause here, and if you have questions about any of this, please save your information, talk to your college counselor. For this example, we're going to say these parents are divorced and click Save and Continue. who did the student live with the most during the past year? Again, this should be the custodial parent that you used on FAFSA. So please choose that parent. As I mentioned, we said this was parent 1. So we're going to click on the father in this case and click Save and Continue. Which parent's information will be provided on this application? Again, if you have questions on this, please check in with your college counselor. But we will go ahead and click on the custodial parent. That is who we are entering information primarily for. We will talk about the non-custodial parent later, but for now, we're going to provide information about the custodial parent. What country does the student's parents live in? Again, we will mostly be saying the United States. And then you will enter some academic information for the student. We will say that your student is currently in 12th grade. The student's high school information, go ahead and put in Colorado. I recommend typing in as little as possible here because searching is always interesting. Let's see if it comes up. There it is, DSST Montview campus. So we will select that. And scroll down, you'll see it pops up here. And go ahead and save and continue. This question you would only answer if you're not one of our students, and if the student goes to a private high school. So none of these are required, you will see. So don't put anything there. Student does not go to a private school, so we will skip those. This next section, we need to enter all of the schools that your student is applying to that requires the CSS profile. Now remember, not every school requires this. Most schools that require this, you will find, well, any school that requires this, you will find in here. You want to search, again, by putting in as little information as possible about the name. You want to leave out the word university. So type in enough, but not too much because it can be hard to find some of the schools in here. So we're going to search by college program or name. You can also search by state, but please remember that not every school requires this. You can actually look up a list of schools that require the CSS profile if you are not sure. But the CSS profile is used by private institutions to identify how much institutional need-based aid they will give the student. So whereas FAFSA is looking at how much federal aid a student might qualify for, and then colleges look at that, private institutions use the CSS profile in addition to that to determine how much institutional need-based aid they might offer you. So colleges in Colorado that require this are Colorado College and University of Denver. So we'll use those as an example. I'm going to type in Colorado and just click search. And scroll down, and there's Colorado College. And we will add that as one of the schools. And then I will type in Denver and search. And we'll go down to University of Denver and select that. And then we'll go ahead and scroll down. We'll see that we have those two schools added. If you have additional schools outside of Colorado, please go ahead and add those now. And then we will save and continue. So then it's going to ask additional details for each school. So we're going to click on Colorado College, school number 1. This again is asking what is the student status going to be at this college in the year 2023, 2024. And your student will be a first-year undergraduate who has never previously attended Colorado College. The student will not yet have an assigned ID, so you will leave that blank. I recommend putting that the student will live on campus. And it's going to ask if your student is applying regular decision, early action, or early decision. So please check in on the status that the student has used for this school. Most of our students are applying early action. Early decision is very specific. Most of our students are applying early action. So we're going to click on that. Early action is not binding. It just means you are submitting your application early. So we will update the information for that first college and then do the same for the remaining colleges that you have. First year undergraduate, never attended, living on campus, and the method of application that the student is using. And then we will save and okay, so the next section that it will take you to after we put in that academic information is asking for some more parent details. So we'll go ahead and start that section. Collecting some information about parents. So again, this is going to be parent 1, the parent that we have been saying is the custodial parent. And so we will need to enter that parent's date of birth. Please make sure this is accurate and aligns with everything you have entered in FAFSA and everywhere else. You do not need to actually enter your parent's social security number here. So it's not required. And at this day and age, you just don't need to do that. I know you needed to on FAFSA, but you don't need to in this case. So go ahead and leave that blank. You do need to enter your parents' email address so that they can complete additional forms if required. The state of residence where the parent lives. And it's going to ask about the highest level of education that this parent completed. Again, less is more. You don't want to say that you've completed college or university or 4 years if you haven't. So this is going to be used to consider whether your student is a first-generation student or not. This is also not required. So you can leave it blank, but you can also indicate the level of education that your parent completed. And in this case, we'll say this parent completed high school, but not college. And then we will be taken to the next section, which is asking about parent income. Something that would be wise to have with you right now would be either to have your student's FAFSA student aid report open on your computer or print it out next to you, because you want to make sure that the financial information that you entered in FAFSA aligns with what we are now entering in the CSS profile. So in addition to having your 2021 tax returns and W-2 forms in front of you, that would also be helpful to have so that you can make sure that your FAFSA and CSS financial information aligns. So this first question is asking about, again, we're going to focus on the parent that we identified as the custodial parent here. What is the tax return status for that parent? Either you have it in front of you and you have completed it, or you have not. And most of you do have that and have completed it. So please put that here. If you have questions about that or have not completed a tax return, I recommend you check in with your college counselor. So this next question is going to ask which type of tax return the student's parents filed. and most of you will select the US 1040. If that is not the case, please check in with your college counselor. And then you're going to indicate the status of your parents' 1040 taxes, and that you will see at the top of your 1040 first page. And so go ahead and indicate your parents' filing status. Again, we are looking at the custodial parents 1040, and so you will select what that is showing on your 1040 and continue. And again, you will need that your parents' taxes and W-2s in front of you. And so, again, we're talking about parent 1, the custodial parent here, and you will be looking at your 1040 and look at what your adjusted gross income for that parent is, and that will be shown right on line 11 of your 1040. So find line 11 and enter that amount here. This next question is not required. I recommend just skipping it. You do not need to click on either of them. Please know that if you do click on one of them, you can't unclick it. So it means you'll have to at least select one. It's okay if you select one, but you don't have to answer it. So if you're not sure, just go ahead and skip that and don't answer it. It's not required. So you can go ahead and click Save and Continue. And just to add on there, most of these schools, well, all of the schools that are going to ask for the CSS profile are also going to have you upload your parents' W-2s, your parents' actual entire tax return, so they will be able to see all of this. So if you are skipping questions that are not required, that is okay. They're going to see all of that information for themselves. So, again, as I talked about before, you might see this pop up based on your family's income. If it is below $100,000 a year, you are going to qualify for a CSS profile fee waiver, and you will not have to pay the fees to send this to each school. And so we're going to continue entering information directly from the parent 1040. And so this first question is asking you to input the amount that is on line 1 of your parent 1040. Which indicates their wages, salaries, tips, etc. This is required. So find line 1 of your parents' 1040 and enter that amount here. These next 3 questions about tax-exempt interest, taxable interest, and ordinary dividends are not required. I recommend leaving them blank so that you avoid any unnecessary errors, and click Save and Continue. Again, schools are going to get an actual copy. You're going to have to upload the full copy of your 1040, so they will have all of this information. So anything that is not required, it is okay to leave blank. They will be asking for your W-2s and a copy of your 1040. So these next questions are also not required. So we will skip them and click Save and Continue. Again, these questions about pensions and annuities, rollovers, also not required, so we're going to leave them blank and click Save and Continue. More questions that are not required related to Social Security benefits, capital gains and losses, going to leave those blank and click Save and Continue. Adjustments to income, again, from these specific lines in your 1040, you do not need to enter them because they are not required. So I would leave them blank and click Save and Continue. This next question is required, and it is line 22 of your 1040, asking for the amount of federal taxes that your parent paid. So you will enter that amount directly from line 22. These next questions are not required. So again, I would leave them blank. They are asking if your family completed either a Schedule 2 or a Schedule 3. If this parent completed one of those, it's not required. So again, I would leave that not answered and click Save and Continue. This next question, you will need your parent W-2 in front of you so that you can enter the amount of income that this parent earned in wages, salaries, and tips as reported on their W-2 form or other earning statement. So please look at that, either an earning statement or your W-2, and take that amount directly from there and enter the parent's earnings for 2021 here. This is required, you will see. So this is asking about this parent's tax-deferred pension and retirement savings plans. Okay, so if you have questions about what to include, this is asking directly for the amounts in boxes 12A through 12D on your W-2 form. Okay, so this is payments and contributions to retirement plans and pensions. This is not asking for the total value of a pension or a retirement plan. So this is the amount of money that was withheld and was tax deferred, and you can find that on your W-2 forms in boxes 12A through 12D, codes D, E, F, G, H, and S. So go ahead and look at your W-2 and look at the amount of money that you find there. Same thing with your HSA. Do not include amounts from 1040 on a Schedule 1. And continue. And then you will be asked about a parent's FSA account, so a flexible spending account. And again, these are pre-taxed amounts provided by employers that let employees set money aside for medical expenses. So please enter the amount that you have done that for if you have an FSA. If you don't, go ahead and enter 0 as these are required. And now we will continue entering income information and benefits for this parent. Again, we are talking about only the 2021 school year. You will see that this first one is not required, so I would leave it blank. It is asking about Social Security benefits that family members may have received. But again, it's not required, so I would not answer it. This, in this example, this parent and the parents are divorced. So there is a question that asks about alimony. Not everyone will see that question, but this is where you would indicate any alimony money that this parent may have received in 2021. And then this next question is asking if there is any income from other members of your household. So this might include money given to the parents or paid to the parents to help supplement bills or things like that. So this is asking for additional income that the family may have gotten from additional members. Most people will put 0 here, but this would be like a set amount that somebody else living in the household contributes on a monthly basis regularly to provide income towards the family. If you have questions on that, please connect with your college counselor before answering it. Most people will put 0 for that. And then this next question applies mostly to people who work in or are in the military or a member of a clergy and are receiving some income benefits and living allowances related to that. If you have questions on that, please check in with your college counselor. And then again, this is asking about additional income that might not be shown anywhere else that this parent is receiving on their behalf. So again, many people will put 0 here, but you would want to only put a number here if it was a set amount that you are receiving regularly. Again, please check with your college counselor if you have questions on these. And this last required question is asking about other untaxed income, things such as workers' comp and disability benefits. So if you're curious about what you should include, these are some of the things that you can include, and these are some of the things that you should not include. Okay, so if you have questions on this, please check in with your college counselor. Many people will put 0 here. And for this example, that is what we are going to do. Now this is asking, enter the amounts that this student's parents received or expect to receive in 2022. So notice we're talking about this year now. These are basically predictions for what the earnings and income will be for this parent in this year, at the end of this year. So again, as I mentioned before, do not overestimate here. Okay, this is where unless there's going to be significant changes in income from work this year, you want to probably put a similar amount to what you earned in 2021. Okay, so they are looking at the income that you think you are going to make in this year, in 2022, and asking you to estimate that. I'm going to stick with the same number that I entered for 2021. And also, we estimated for 2021, not estimated, but put 0 for other taxable income not included on the income tax return. So I'm going to stick with 0 again. So those are those additional income pieces that not most people don't have, but some might. But I'm going to stick with 0. And also put untaxed income and benefits as 0 because that's what I indicated in the 2021 year also and in those taxes. So again, these are predictions that parents are expecting to report on their 2022 taxes. So for this situation, we're going to say that it is going to be very similar. This family has not had significant changes, and we are indicating that in these numbers. This next question is asking if this student's parent was impacted significantly by the COVID-19 pandemic. So, and that's this current income. So if the answer to that is yes, you can select yes, and then we will provide details in the special circumstances section. If you are going to do that, you need to work with your college counselor to make sure that you are being very careful and explicit with how you are wording the details that you're providing. So if you are going to select yes to this and then provide that information in the special circumstances section, Please work with your college counselor to make sure that you are doing that in the best way possible. For this, I'm going to leave it blank because it's not required. So I'm going to click Save and Continue. And now we're also talking about 2023. So next year, does this student's parent expect a significant income change due to a new job or a job loss, retirement, or benefit changes? So again, they're trying to predict what the next year will look like financially for this student's family. So do you expect a significant income change? This is required, so you're going to select either yes or no. Again, if you select yes, you will be able to explain that in the special circumstances section, and you should work very closely with your college counselor in doing that. I'm going to select no here for this example. And then we will ask or answer the question of benefits that the parents received in 2021 or in this year in 2022. Food stamps, SNAP, free or reduced lunch. So this is that family or that the parents received. And so you will indicate this if your parent received any of this. The student receives free and reduced price lunch. The parent is not having to pay those fees. So you will indicate any of those that apply and click Save and Continue. More parent employment information. And this is going to ask about retirement plans as well. So this is a little bit different than FAFSA and asks some more detailed information than FAFSA does. You will see that this question is not required, so you can skip it. Employed by others, self-employed, unemployed. It is recommended that anything that is not required, you can skip. So go ahead and select Save and Continue. Has this parent ever been in the armed forces? So if you have, you will select yes. If you have not, you will select no. This one I do recommend, even though it's not required that you answer. Is this parent a dislocated worker? If you have questions about what that is, you can look here. For this example, I'm going to select no and click Save and Continue. Also not required, what is this parent's occupation? You can skip this. Which retirement plans does this parent participate in? You can skip this, but you are going to have to indicate amounts in future questions. So you can skip this to avoid any unnecessary errors, but we will indicate amounts here. So this question is asking, what is the current value of this parent's tax-deferred and after-tax retirement, pension, annuity, and savings plans, such as these? So this is where, different from FAFSA, you are asking to give a value amount of what this parent's retirement savings plans are worth. Now, this is interesting because schools technically should not be using this to calculate your family's need. So down the road, if your financial aid packages look like they are not right, or that you are not getting as much financial aid as you think you should, it could be worth reaching out directly to that financial aid office and making sure that they are not taking parents' retirement funds into consideration. So you will look at your retirement plans, your investments, and tax deferred after tax retirement information and savings plans and enter that here. So you would look up the value of that and enter that here. And again, this is the parent's retirement savings. So this is now moving on. The CSS asks for both parents' information. So as we noted earlier, we were looking at the father's information as the custodial parent, but now they're going to ask for information about the non-custodial parent. So we provided the mother's name earlier on in this application and the parent's last name. As I mentioned, you may have entered unknown if this is not information that you have access to. So if you do know your parents' your non-custodial parents' first and last name, you will enter that. You will enter their address if you have it. This is not something that everyone has, so you might also have to enter unknown here. And then we will move on. And so this is asking, we indicated that in this situation, this parents or this student's biological parents are divorced. So they're going to ask what was the year of the separation and the year of the divorce. So you can go ahead and enter that here. In some cases, they may be slightly different, but in many they will be the same. If parents are legally separated but not divorced, you will leave this one blank. Now, this next question is asking about the non-custodial parent's occupation and employer. It is required that you answer this, but I would recommend putting unknown because this parent is going to be asked to fill out all of this information on their own. They will be, you will see in a couple questions, we will provide their email address if known. But I recommend putting unknown, even if you're thinking, well, I know what I know what this non-custodial parent does, and I know what their job is. I recommend putting unknown and letting that parent input that themselves when they are asked. So I recommend putting unknown for this and then continuing. And this is asking, and again, be careful on this because this is asking what amount will the non-custodial parent contribute towards the student's educational costs. So if this parent has money that they are going to contribute towards the student's educational costs, I would let them enter that. So I would also put unknown here. The non-custodial parent will enter that on their own if applicable. But for now, I would put unknown here. And then, is there a written agreement specifying that the non-custodial parent will pay a certain amount towards educational costs in 23-24? Most people, I think, will put no here. And then I would leave this blank, any other information regarding the current or expected financial contribution from the non-custodial parent. Again, the non-custodial parent will be asked to fill all of this information out. If you do not have information about your non-custodial parent, we will talk about that in just a little bit, and you will be submitting a waiver on behalf of providing that parent's information. So for this example, we're going to stick with unknown, no, there's not an agreement, and then continue. looks like you cannot enter unknown, so we're going to put 0 and let that parent indicate otherwise, and then save and continue. So this you should enter. If you have your non-custodial parent's email address, you need to enter that here, because this is how that non-custodial parent is going to be prompted to complete their own CSS profile. So the custodial parent and the student are filling out the student CSS profile. That's what we're doing right now. The non-custodial parent will actually do their own CSS profile, and providing that parent's email address here is how they will be prompted to do that. They will not see the custodial parent and the student's CSS profile, and you will not see theirs. So if you have that non-custodial parent's email address, you will enter that here and save and continue. And if you don't have that, it is also okay to leave that blank. Okay, and now we're going to go back to talking about the student and the student's custodial parents and providing information about where the student and family live. So if you own your home, now would be the time to make sure you have your mortgage information in front of you. This is asking if the student and the custodial parent's permanent addresses are the same. You don't have to answer this, but you can put yes. And it will ask you to double check and verify the address, and then you will continue. And this is going to ask about the situation that the student and the family, the custodial parent, what describes their living situation. And so whether you own your home, rent your home, live with others, or housing is provided by employer. So owning your home is what we're going to use in this example. So that is if you pay a mortgage versus paying a monthly rent to someone else. So we're going to select own home here. And then it's going to ask the year that you purchased your home. And again, this is required. So please look at your mortgage information and enter that here. So we'll just say this home was purchased in 2016. You'll enter the price that you purchased the home for. Again, that should be included on your mortgage. And then you're going to look up the current market value of your home. Now, this is tricky. There are a few places that you can do this. There are federal websites that can help you estimate the value of your home. I recommend making sure you are not overvaluing the current value of your home. So please check that information on I recommend using the Federal Housing Association, their website, and calculating an estimate of your home's market value. Please feel free to check in with your college counselor if you are not sure where to find this, and we can help you, but you want to be very careful that you don't overestimate this. So for this example, I did look up using it's a website called I just searched for it by typing in Federal Home Value Calculator and Googling that and going to the FHFA calculator, and you'll input some information and it will give you the current estimate. So I did that, and this is what I got. The current value of a home purchased in 2016 at $200,000 is now has a market value of $385,000. Again, please do not overestimate there, overvalue your home. And then this next question is asking, how much do you still owe on your home? So how much of the mortgage have you paid off, and how much do you still owe? So go ahead and enter that here and continue. And then this next question is just getting a little more specific about what is still owed on the home, and it's asking specifically about the primary mortgage. You'll see that this is not required, so I will leave that blank, especially given that you just put in the total amount owed on the last question. And then this next question is required, and it is just entering what is the student's parents' monthly housing payment. So what are you paying each month towards your mortgage? And this is, again, just taking into account principal and interest, not property taxes or anything like that. So you'll enter the amount that the student's parents, that you as the parents pay each month towards your mortgage, and continue. And I know in this example, we are working through an example of a family who owns the home, but you'll be asked similar questions if you are renting in terms of estimating what your monthly payment is. Just instead of it being a mortgage, it will be the rent that you pay. Then these next sections are going to relate to who is in this primary household. So far, we've been talking about the student. In this case, that is Lisa, and the custodial parent, which is Joe. So we will continue and answer some questions about additional siblings and dependents. So this is looking for anyone other than the student and the parent, who we've talked about already, who lives in the student's parents' household and receives more than half of their support from them. So this is where you will add other siblings. And you will tell them more about each dependent. In this case, let's just say this is a younger brother named Jim, and you will enter their birth date, and you would say that is a sibling. So then you will update that for dependent 1 and continue to do that for the additional siblings and dependents that live in your home. This is a place where if you have, let's say, a grandparent or another relative living with you, you can put that in here as long as the parent is providing more than half of their financial support for that person. So let's just say that this is a grandparent. And you would enter that grandparent's birth date. And you would indicate that that is a grandparent. And you would update that information. And once you have entered all of your dependents who are living in the home other than the student and the parent, you will save and continue. And they will ask for some additional information for each dependent. So in this case, it's asking what is the brother's year in school, and you can go through here and enter that. So it will indicate if the student's in college, in high school, in elementary school, and then it will ask what grade will that student be in next year. So when your student is in college, in the 2023-2024 school year, what will this sibling's grade level be? So they're trying to determine how many students are in college and kind of where this family's finances are going in terms of other siblings' education. So once we are done with that for this sibling, we will provide information about, in this case, the grandparent. So we would obviously, if this is the grandparent and the grandparent is not in school, we're going to select none. And then again, we will select none for the next school year, the year that your student will be in college, and update that. And then since you have indicated that there is a sibling in grade school, you will tell them just a little bit more about that student. So is that sibling attending a private school in this current school year? And will that student be attending a private school in the 2023-2024 school year? If you answer yes, it is likely going to ask you a few more questions about if you are paying tuition. But in this case, we will say no and update that sibling's K-12 attendance information. And then they're going to ask some questions about child support. And you'll see this is required, but this is asking, did you, the parent, receive child support in 2021? So receive. So select whichever one is applicable. If you select yes, you will probably be prompted to enter the total amount received in the year 2021. So you can go ahead and enter whatever that amount may be. Again, this is child support that you receive. And then this is asking how much of that was for your student, for the student going to college. And if all of it was for that student, you would enter the whole amount. If half of it was for that student, you would enter that amount. And then this is asking, did the student's parents pay child support? So rather than receive, did you pay child support? So again, if you answer yes, you will be prompted to enter the amount that you paid. And in this example, we will select no. And then it's going to ask a little bit more about the student's parents' expenses. And you'll see this is not required. So does the student's parents have any medical or dental expenses not covered by insurance? If you are going to answer yes to this question, you will be prompted to enter more information. How much in medical and dental expenses was not covered by insurance, and did the student's parents pay in 2021? So very important, read through what you should and should not include. So please talk about this with your college counselor if you are unsure. So you will not include amounts that were covered by medical and dental insurance or a government-sponsored healthcare system, or amounts reimbursed by flexible spending accounts or other savings accounts. And so be very careful about what you do and do not include here. I'm going to go ahead and skip this. If you are not sure what to put here, I recommend doing the same. And then it's going to ask the same question about what do you expect to pay in 2022. So as compared to the last question that was talking about what did you pay in 2021, this is asking what do you expect to pay. Again, if you are not sure what to put here, talk to your college counselor, but you can also leave this blank as it is not required. And then it's going to ask, do the student's parents have any of the following expenses? So do the parents have any repayment of college loan debt that they are paying in 2021? So this includes any loan debt that the parents would be paying. And then again, they're going to ask if you plan to have the repayment of any college loan debt in the upcoming tax year, so in 2022. And if you have any alimony that you expect to be paid or received. So you will choose whether you want to select yes or no for each of these, but you can also just leave them all blank and skip and save because these questions are not required. And then we will continue answering questions about the parent assets. So this question is asking, as of today, what amount does the parent have in cash, savings, checking, and deposit accounts? This is a really important question where you need to be honest, but you definitely do not want to overestimate. So this is money that is there that you do not need for monthly bills, that you do not need for your mortgage payment or your rent payment. This is money that is specifically set aside that they're going to look at as being saved for this student's college expenses and college costs. So whatever amount you put here, please make sure it is not money that you need to touch anytime in the near future. It is specifically savings, not money that you need to use right now. For many people, that is zero. So in this example, we're going to put $0. Then you'll see these next questions are asking about investments. They are required, but this first question is asking, do the student's parents have investments? And you can look at the drop-down menu. Investments do not include the home that you live in, real estate related to a business, or any of these items. Investments do include stocks, 529 plans. Again, as we talked about earlier in this session, 529 college plans are parent assets, not student assets. So additionally, this might include money market funds, savings bonds, things like that. So if you have any of those things, you will need to click yes. But if you don't, you'll click no. This next question is asking if the student's parents own real estate besides the home that you all live in. So this would be a vacation home, a second home, seasonal home, or a rental property that you may rent out. So again, select whichever applies to you. If you select yes, later on you will likely be able to or be asked to share how much that property is worth. If you own or operate a business that is the primary income source or is in addition to other work, so be careful here because this is asking about businesses that have 100 or more employees. So unless your business has 100 or more employees, you are selecting no to this question. And similarly to a farm, most people will select no for this question also. Because again, it is dependent on how many people are working there and things like that. If you have questions about that, please speak with your college counselor. Then this is going to ask, do you have any assets that are under the student's name? So for most people, we will put no, but again, you can see what type of assets that is speaking to. Most people will put no, and we will click Save and Continue. Now it's going to ask about the student's income. Student's income. Did the student file a tax return for 2021? Unless they earned more than $12,500, students were not required to file taxes. So most students have not filed, but you will select the answer that applies to your student and click on that. So for this example, we're going to say the student has not filed and is not required to file, and click Save and Continue. And then they're still going to ask about, did the student earn any income? So students who didn't file taxes still may have a W-2 or a statement showing their earnings from their employer. So we'll continue here, and we will estimate students, if they have a W-2, it will say right there how much they earned in the 2021 2021 school year only. So this is not talking about this past summer, it's only talking about 2021. So how much income did this student earn from work? If it's on your W-2, great. If not, estimate. Again, be honest, but don't overestimate. Think about how many hours a week the student worked, how much they were paid an hour, and how many weeks they worked that year, and then enter your best estimate. This is not required, so I'm going to skip it, but it's asking about students' interest income. But again, since it's not required, we're going to skip it. These next questions are going to ask additional questions to see if the student received any additional income in 2021. So again, we're looking for, are these questions required? I do not see that this one is required, so we can skip it. But this is asking about taxable earnings from need-based work programs and scholarships. So this is something that down the road, once students are in college, they may have taxable earnings that they could report. But again, this is not required, so we're definitely going to skip it this year. Untaxed income received by the student. Again, none of these are required. Most of them would be 0 anyway, but we're going to click Save and Continue. These are required, so this is asking to estimate how much the student is expecting to earn in this upcoming summer of 2023, and then in the upcoming school year. So unless you have a guaranteed job that you're going to be working, I recommend putting 0 for all of these, because they're just trying to get an idea of how much income the students will have in the upcoming school year. So I recommend putting 0 to all of these. It's asking about untaxed income as well as those taxed income sources. So I recommend putting 0 for all of these, unless you have a guaranteed internship with a guaranteed salary or something like that. And again, this is asking about the student. And then this is asking, how much does the student expect to get from the sources below for their college expenses in the 2023-2024 academic year? So when they're a freshman, how much do their parents plan to contribute to their college education? How much money in scholarships are they guaranteed as of now? How much are employers paying? How much are relatives paying? So again, unless you have money sitting there that is guaranteed for the student's college, I recommend putting 0 for all of these. So for what parents plan to contribute, because in a perfect world, we want all of our students going to school for free. So please put 0 unless you have amounts of money that are sitting there that you have that will definitely go towards their college. Most students do not have any guaranteed scholarships yet. Hopefully that will change, but they don't have any yet, so they will put 0. I don't know of any employers that are paying for some of our students' college expenses. Would love to know if some are, but I think most people will put no there. And same for relatives providing funds for the student's college. So if you have questions, again, go ahead and save, but check in with your college counselor. And then this is going to check to see if the student has any assets. Not required. I wouldn't click either. Most students don't have either of these, but if they do, you can check in if you feel like you need to report that, but these are not required. So for now, I would click Save and Continue. This is asking the same question it asks of parents. What amount does the student currently have in cash, savings, checking, and deposit accounts? Again, you need to be honest, but not overestimate here. This is money that is, think of it as money that is just sitting there. They're going to look at it as money that the student has saved for college. And this is not money that students need for gas, for car payments, or anything like that. Definitely recommend putting 0 unless you have a significant amount of money sitting there. And if you do, please check in with your college counselor before entering an amount and submitting this, because this will definitely affect the amount of financial aid that students get. Does the student own any retirement assets? Most would select no, but not required, so just recommend skipping it. Select all of the circumstances that have impacted the student's family. So if any of these are applicable, please check in with your college counselor so that we can make sure we are reporting it in the correct way and at the correct time. So in this case, it doesn't say that it's required, but it is going to make you select one. So if something has occurred, again, please check in with your college counselor. Otherwise, select none and continue. And then we can go back and see that we have check marks next to all 16 of these sections that this student needed to complete. Again, the number of sections will vary depending on your answers. So there is skip logic used in this. Everyone should review their application before submitting. And so run through it, review everything. You can go back and edit each section. And also feel free to do this with your college counselor. That is what we are here for. And once you are done reviewing all of the sections, you'll be able to submit the application. And College Board and the CSS Profile use the information that you have input in the CSS Profile and the income information to determine whether you qualify for a fee waiver or not. Because the CSS Profile is not free to send to colleges. You have to pay a $9 registration fee as well as $16 for each school that you send this to. So if you do not qualify for that fee waiver based on your income information, you will have to submit payment before you're able to completely send the CSS to every school. If you feel like that is not accurate, check in with your college counselor. We can try reaching out to the individual schools for fee waivers, but there are no guarantees that we will get that. So once you've reviewed everything, you will say that you've understood. You will save and continue. And again, you'll get to this part where you see the fees, that application fee, and then $16 per college that you're sending this to. This example, the student received a fee waiver, so they are paying 0. And once you have reviewed this, you will go ahead and click Submit. And I'm not going to do that in this situation, but you will click Submit. highly recommend reviewing it with your college counselor before doing that. But that is the end of the CSS profile. The next thing you will be prompted to do once you submit is upload documents to something called iDoc, and I will show you what that looks like next. Okay, so once you have submitted, you will, on your student's dashboard in the CSS profile, see this. Application status, it will show that it has been submitted. Definitely save a copy. And then you will scroll down and see all of the schools that your student has submitted this to. Again, it's going to be primarily private institutions, and if you need to send to more schools at a later date, you can always click to add a college or program. But then you're going to see this now on the student's dashboard. Submit your documents to iDoc. Now, this is, every school has different requirements, but you will click on that, and then you're going to be prompted to upload copies of your actual 2021 taxes, as well as W-2 forms, as well as completing some additional statements depending on each college's individual requirements. So let me show you what that could look like. So when you click on that Submit Forms button, you'll get to a page that has the individual institutions that are requiring additional documents. And you can click on each school to see what they are individually asking for and when the deadlines for those are. But then down here, you will see what is required from each school. And we are here to help you with this. You will see red X's here, and the goal is to obviously see green check marks like this eventually, but it is asking you to upload all of these required documents. And again, this will look different by student and by school. So in this case, we needed to upload the 2021 parent IRS form, the parent 2021 W-2 form. We needed to answer some questions and do a quick online form about 1099s and some additional statements. Students will have to verify that they did not file taxes. And so this is the next part after CSS Profile, is to actually go in and upload additional documents. It is required. There are deadlines related to this for each school. You can often see the earliest deadlines here. But if you don't meet these deadlines, you are not going to qualify for need-based aid from these institutions and potentially merit-based aid also. So again, this is something that after you submit the CSS profile, you are not done. You need to upload additional documents, and we are here to help you with that. And that is the end of this session about the CSS profile and iDoc. It is very important that from here your students are making sure to check their email, both their school email and their professional email, every day at least once, so you are aware of additional items that every college may need. So thank you for your time, and please continue to reach out to your college counselor for advice, and have a great rest of your day.